Trade from a typical football-loving Aussie male with a rising business career, to him being confronted with his mental health challenges. Combining a knack for business and an ultra-competitive streak, Matt has accomplished some great feats in his life. He left Mount Lilian Mercy College at the end of Year 11 to complete an electrical apprenticeship. He then moved to Schneider Electric Automation and Controls in a senior technician role, 1 out of 5 in Australia, earning $100,000 a year plus a company car at the age of 22. He bought 2 street sweepers and started a business called Shine Tech Services at the age of 23. At age 24, created Elite Live Media, which negotiated Channel 7's TV rights for the greyhound racing industry with New South Wales Government. At 25, he was selected as Australian General Manager of an online tech startup called Calfixie Australia. He was given a bank account with $500,000, an empty office floor on Chapel Street, and a half-page rundown of what they wanted in the app. Within 4 months, he'd built the team to 7 staff in Australia and 15 developers in India. Fast forward another 6 months, and Matt was promoted to the Global General Manager at 26 years old and was responsible for 42 staff in Australia, India and Hong Kong. From that, on the outside, everything would be perceived to be on the rise in Matt's life. Just an everyday eastern suburbs guy that loved his footy and had a passion for business. It is here one of the reasons Matt wants to share his story with everyone tonight, to articulate how a series of events can lead someone to fall into the frame of mind that he did and what steps he took to rebuild. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Maidment.
It's good we got the lights working. I was half expecting the crate behind you with the boys standing on. Yeah, thanks everyone. I guess first of all I'll just start. I've been to a couple of these events myself, and some of the stories people tell are quite harrowing and really, to be honest, hard to relate to. I'd probably like to think mine's a lot more relatable, and I know there's a lot of guys here who play football around the area and whatnot. And there's probably a lot of parents as well, but it's probably something that, I guess mine was a journey, and there was certain instances that happened in my life that really probably put me in a position that I guess was less than ideal. So in general, when we talk about awareness, from my point of view, it's really just about giving or empowering people to be able to talk about what they're going through as opposed to just going through it by themselves. So that's really all awareness is, and I guess that's all we're really trying to do here tonight, is just trying to normalise something that I guess we all really don't know too much about. So I guess I'll start by saying, obviously as Dylan mentioned, I went to Mount Lilian College. At the end of year 11, I ended up leaving and undertaking an electrical apprenticeship. Dad was obviously really wrapped with that, probably not so much because I was getting an apprenticeship, but just meant the end of private school fees. At age 22, upon completion of my apprenticeship, as Dylan mentioned earlier, I was then over to Schneider Electric Controls. After a series of people left, I was left to be one of 5 people in Australia that was undertaking a specialised skill. In 2011, while I was playing football for Lilydale Football Club, I suffered a major knee injury in the first practice match. At that time, that was the first time I'd really committed to trying for my football and really put a lot of training and whatnot into it. After that, the coming weeks and months were really spent with a group of close friends at the pub. It really started out as just a one-nighter thing, having a drink, but a couple of months and weeks go by, and at 22 years old, it was 4 and 5 nights a week. It was of course good fun when you're 22. In March 2012, I decided to change football clubs to meet new people and some new opportunities. The situation I was finding myself in was really probably not one I wanted to be part of, and of course I wanted to sort of at least try to get something out of football. What level that was, it didn't really bother me. But one thing I'd really lost was the intense structure and framework around football itself, and I guess that's why it's so important for kids and whatnot to be part of sport. It's really just about providing direction. I guess as you get older you can train, and without that, that's when I really started to realise that I'd lost my way. Basically what happened was when I went to the new club, once again, the first pre-season I'd done my knee again. And it's so hard when you go to a new football club, you don't know too many people obviously, and obviously I went back to my old football club and basically started hanging around the same people. Once again, those old habits started. So it was really about drinking a lot of nights, obviously at the pub, put a few bets on, just do whatever you do. It was basically just living week by week. In the end, it was probably an outlet for my disappointment. And as again, it was just somewhere I had no direction to really satisfy that competitive edge that I had. Later that year in August 2012, me and a couple of friends, the same ones, drank all day at the football. And we actually went to a pub in Bayswater industrial area. A number of hours sort of continued happening, and by that stage we were well and truly drunk. And we decided to walk back to the Bayswater Hotel, which is about 1 kilometre away, sort of off the beaten track. Along the way on Mount Dandenong Road there's we'll call it a massage parlour, and there was two less than desirable guys at the front, and we're actually split into two groups. There's a couple up further and I was in the group behind. Soon after that, I sort of realised there was going to be a problem when some of my friends up the front started an altercation with the guys, and a fight broke out. It went into the middle of the road and broke up after a couple of minutes, and nothing serious at that stage. It really happened, no one was really hurt. But as we broke the groups up, and the two other gentlemen went to the other side of the road, and we sort of went to walk our own way, that's when the two guys started screaming out, "We've got a knife, and we're about to call my mates the bikies," or words to that effect. And it was at that point where I just made a terrible decision. It was one of those things where I basically just, I thought they were going to do something serious to me and my mates. We had nowhere to go. It was about 600 metres to the pub that way. There was nothing that way, and I ran back over the road. After another altercation, both gentlemen were left unconscious with serious facial injuries. And as me and my friends walked down the road, we were met with 4 to 5 police cars and police dogs and quickly arrested. We were taken back to the station and interviewed, and at that point, down the track, we were basically charged. We ended up getting charged with recklessly causing serious injury, which is only a couple under manslaughter. The two gentlemen are right, by the way. That really coincided with something else that was going on at that time. I was still really not able to play football, so it was just all about drinking with those same group of people again. And at that time, I had about, estimate, 70, 80 grand in my bank. So for me to go to the pub and lose $100, $200 is really not a big deal. But the people I was with were sort of living week to week and paycheck to paycheck. So they'd lose $200, they literally wouldn't have a cent to their account. And this one friend in general, which I'd always spend the time at the pub with, sometimes he'd come to the end of the month and say he couldn't pay rent. So I'd often take out money and give it to him, and that was all in an effort for him really to hide from his girlfriend what was sort of going on. At that point I had no idea what sort of habit or betting behaviour that we were sort of entering into. That also was around the same time that phone betting really became big in Australia and Victoria. And the main thing about phone betting is what a lot of people don't realise, it actually takes the anonymity, we'll skip that word. It takes, actually, should have done year 12. Thanks, Dad. It really takes the mask, we'll go with, off the whole process. So there's no longer you walking up to a counter and handing someone $100, $200, $1,000, what it is. But now you can just whip out your iPhone, and with a quick push of a button you could have thousands of dollars in your account. No one was regulating it. Of course the betting companies weren't. They want all the money you got. So with that in play, it was really becoming an environment where we were only measuring ourselves against me and my friend that I bet with, and really to us there was no moral compass. It was really just a matter of, no one really popped in and said, "Hey, you're betting too much," because no one of course would have known. So later that year in November, I stopped speaking to that guy. And I guess there's a lot of reasons behind it, I'm not going to go into it, but basically that led to a situation where I was isolated from my initial group of friends. I was still talking to them all, but at that point I was left by myself, and obviously I had some things going on with business too, so I was really focused on that. In January 2013, after 2 years at Schneider Electrics and decent money behind me, my passion for business really fostered. I had a knack for finding niche concepts and ideas, and then most importantly working out how to implement them. I decided to buy the 2 street sweepers and start Shine Tech Services and work after hours to finish it. I basically for the next 4 months walked door to door to sign up customers. Oddly enough, the film My Frankenstein, which was actually filmed out this way, you guys might remember, a Hollywood movie, they actually had one of my sweepers in the scenes. And I guess I was a little bit disappointed when I took a few friends to the cinemas to show them a famous scene that was left on the cutting room floor. So also at that same time, due to the tiff and I guess the stress of impending court, and we were told in no uncertain terms there was a very high chance of jail, and I'd never been in trouble before, I sort of found myself lost and lonely, and I definitely withdrew from my close relationship in hindsight with my girlfriend I was living with at the time. I'd spend time at the pub betting, and I guess sort of subconsciously it was probably more of a comfort thing. I'd sort of done it so often with a friend of mine, it was just something I guess you don't really think about at the time. In April 2013, I juggled both Schneider Electric Shine Tech for about 9 months, and then I saw another opportunity. I'd read online that Greyhound Racing Victoria were having trouble building their brand exposure. I then came up with the concept, why don't we put it on free-to-air TV? So later that month also, we pled guilty in court with the simple mindset of whatever punishment comes, we deserve it. And we were then handed down community service due to our first time offence. At the one turn of house was when I really first noticed I was going downhill. My girlfriend and family and that would have had no idea how much I was betting at any time. It could have been $1, $10, $100, $1,000, she would have had no idea. Because she never really missed out on anything. We always went to dinners and little holidays and things like that. So it was really no idea for her to wonder. But it was also at that point when all my money had gone. All that savings I had was completely gone. I mean, it's sort of one of those funny things. I guess you bet, you win, then you put another big bet on and you lose. And that's not problem gambling. Problem gambling is a simple thing, the old cliche, chasing your losses. That's where it really comes. And generally it's backed up by something that's like a false pretense in your mind. It's like, no, I've done this before, we'll win it again. But it's all a load of crap really, because it just keeps going down the same path. The main problem I had then, that's when I realised that I had the same betting habit as my mate who had never had any money. But I never realised it along the way because I always had money. I always never missed anything. I never missed social outings. And as I said, always went on holidays. It was really the first time that it set into me that, fuck, I'm in trouble here and I don't know what to do about it. So from 2011 to 2014, I estimate I probably would have lost somewhere between $80,000 to $100,000. I'd be paid on a Tuesday night when it got really bad, about $1,800 clear a week. And sometimes 15 minutes later, I'd walk into the bedroom or the lounge room and speak to my girlfriend and tell her it was all gone. The main thing was, I was never missing payments. We're always paying rent, we're always paying bills. And I guess that was the hard thing for her, was basically all our spare cash was going. In September 2013, I resigned from Schneider Electric, sold the street sweepers after months of juggling the stress, the court, and everything else. I actually sold the machines for $28,000, I'd only bought them for $14,000. Except that $14,000 profit went off to pay a credit card gambling debt. When I left Schneider Electric, I was given a $12,000 payout. And at that same time, a mate had come and confronted me in my house about what I was doing. At that point, he probably didn't know the seriousness of it. And I was just really pissed off that he'd come around. I sort of thought, when you sort of confront someone, I guess you talk to your friends about it, but the main thing is you can't just confront people about something. You've either got to offer to help or have a plan. And I felt that he didn't have that. He was sort of just taking advantage of me. I mean, it's not the wrong mindset, but I felt he was just taking the advantage of me, and he was really just going to wear it a badge of honour as you sort of go around and talk to other friends about coming round. So then we decided to move out of the rental I shared with that girlfriend, and she moved in with her parents, and I moved into Sydney to pursue Elite Live Media. So I partnered with a production company. We negotiated the free-to-air rights with Channel 7, TAB and Greyhound Racing Victoria. Ultimately, that deal fell through in January 2014 when the Victorian government intervened on the grounds that content wasn't within the public interest. In December 2013, I came back from Sydney with no money. My girlfriend had lost her job and we were living at her parents'. And the strange thing was, and this is what I'd only at that time realised, if I rewinded back 6-8 weeks, I had 2 machines, 3 jobs, money in the bank, and now I was sitting there like that. And that was really the first time that I probably, you say selfish, but you just don't think that at the time. It's the first time I really realised that I was hurting her, or I had the potential to hurt her because she was going to miss out on things that I couldn't provide. And I guess the hard thing to explain to people, it was probably more betting for boredom. As I said, I was really separate from our friends. And it was just really to fill that time, that loneliness. Sorry, I lost one again. So I guess, as I just say, problem gambling is basically when you lose and your mindset quickly switches to, oh fuck, now I'm down, I need to win that back. This thought pattern, as I said earlier, was based up by false pretense. In January 2014, I was referred to Jarvis Private Equity Group in Hong Kong and was advised to take part in a process to become a founding general manager at an online tech startup. It was backed by a prominent global investment bank. Naively, I went through that process, probably with a bit of brashness at that age, and after a 4-week intense interview process, I was finally offered the role. I'd later find out that there was 45 candidates from all age groups and elite universities across the world. When I got the job at Jarvis, I had no money, no car, and me and my girlfriend had just moved out of our house, into our new house, sorry. The strange thing was, when I was working at Call Fixie, my mind was only ever half on the job. The other half was just stressing about money and how to pay bills, etc. In an odd way, I was really able to compartmentalise and make really strong, rational decisions at work, but the other half of me was sort of controlled by that, and then also thinking about like the races and things like that. So for me, it's only now that I really think about, what could I have achieved? I'd taken it from basically nothing, an empty office room floor and a bank account with money, if I had have really applied myself. Later on, I became the global general manager of Call Fixie, and I planned the international expansion into Canada, Hong Kong and the UK. At that point, as Dylan mentioned, I was in charge of 42 staff and I built the business from nothing. November 2014, that was a terrible time for me because basically, that's probably no easy way to say it, my partner basically went outside a relationship and we broke up. In hindsight, I guess that sense of loneliness and the uncertain future, it would have been terribly hard for us, so I definitely know that was the cause of it, and I sort of don't hold any grudges for that. I guess I'll forever be indebted to her and her family for what they did for me during that time and the patience and whatnot. They probably didn't understand either what was really going on. They sacrificed a lot for me, and definitely my ex-girlfriend did. And I guess I just hope that one day that both her and her family can sort of remember the person they first met and I guess not the dark times at the very end. 2 months later after that, I had Call Fixie, as I said, ready for international expansion. I decided I needed to step away from the role. Things had just become too much and I just couldn't handle the breakup. I'd summoned one of the investors to fill my position. I then moved down to the beach with my mum, and at that point, I wasn't able to operate at the level I demanded, so it was all about taking 4 to 6 weeks off. That was just too long to take away from my role. The board did tell me though at that point that they were more than happy to bring me back to my post when I felt ready. Another 4 weeks later, my friends and that had told me at the time, and I guess there's no rule about it, it's just a common decency thing. A lot of my friends at the time had told me, that obviously they wouldn't do anything with the ex because she was sort of hanging around them still. And unfortunately, we've all known that one guy, but didn't all follow that rule. So at a house party with friends I didn't attend, yeah, good bloke. At a house party, both a former friend of mine and her advanced their relationship and enjoyed each other's company for the night. 3 days later, none the wiser, both him and 2 of the other friends decided to take me out for dinner just to see if I was right on track and everything was going well. And obviously at that point I had no idea what had happened. So there I was once I found all that out. 3 months. I'd broken up with my long-term girlfriend of 3.5 years. I'd stepped down from Call Fixie, my dream job, and the company I built from scratch. My ex had done what she'd done with my mate. And at the age of 26, I had no car, no job, no girlfriend. I was living back at my mum's, and most of my close mates had sided with the former friend. The next few months, you can probably imagine, were just a complete blur. In May 2015, the day before my 27th birthday, I received a large A4 envelope in the mail. This letter was from the investor group. At this point, probably my main emotions I was feeling were bitterness and, I guess you guys can probably imagine, just isolation, a bit of guilt there also. And the letter was pretty simple and it just went like this. Hi Matt, we thought we'd send you this to help remind yourself of the person we hired. Take your time reading this. The qualities you were born with may not be so obvious right now, as you're possibly very confused about who you are. But let me assure you, as you know, we didn't make a hiring mistake. You were the single greatest decision we made at this company. There's no need to tell you to be strong and believe in yourself. Those are 2 qualities that are your gifts. But what we will do is dare you to show everyone else in your life just how great you are, forever your friends. And along with that, there was this also a candidate note. It's a bit embarrassing to read, but it just put context around exactly what I was going through at the time. So it was about a 4-day process with a psychologist, so I knew the ins and outs of me, so you'd think. And it basically said this in layman's terms. In conclusion, candidate 32, that's me, possesses a personality type ENTP and presents traits of a Class A candidate ranking the top 7% observed. He presents above average IQ, reasoning, problem solving, cognitive function, competitiveness and the ability to persevere. My only concern regarding candidate 33 is from my experience these mixture of traits and personality type can possibly lead to destructive behaviours in their personal lives. Due diligence is advised to investigate this area. Needless to say, they didn't investigate. So that report for me was really more about highlighting my strengths and weaknesses, but also they knew that that would probably ignite a little bit of a fire in my tummy. I just felt I had a great opportunity to rebuild my life. I was obviously at a very low point from the ground up. You know, as they say, rock bottom is the foundation that empires are born on. I literally had to rebuild everything from my values, my goals, my friends, my relationships. I just decided to sit down and do one thing I'd never done, and that's look at my personal life exactly the way I'd assess a business or any processes that I would do in business. So I basically sat down and wrote out some structures and assessed some patterns of behaviour that I was doing to do with work, friends, family and social. I then decided to build a set of behaviours that were going to allow me to reflect the person that I am and want to be. The first thing I identified was that there was 4 main pillars in anyone's life, and that's family, work, social life and friends. Social life and friends, to me that was really a minor priority from the very start because they're really a byproduct of when everything else is stable in your life. Without money, you can't go out and hang out with friends, can you? Probably brings me to a point, I didn't really script this actually, but yeah, like obviously Dad and his partner are here. Yeah, like Dad's been a huge inspiration for me for a long time actually. He was a bit of a sports star himself. He'll tell you that too. But really what they've had is, I've been really lucky, is that both him and his partner have believed in me. And it's sort of one of those things that's unspoken. I guess it's like unspoken love with your kids, but it's just, it was really unspoken. I guess I'd make a decision or I'd say I was going to do something and they'd challenge me on that, but at the same time, I knew that they'd backed my judgment and let me move out of my way. I guess most people have sporting heroes, mentors and best friends, but he's all that, he's my dad. Spent time with my brother and his partner actually over that same period. This is all about building that. I observed the environment that they were creating with a young family. I guess I learned from what they were doing, it was really about, that wasn't so far ahead from me, it was only a couple of years away potentially. So it was really about just getting involved in that and building that relationship with both them and my dad and his partner also. It was about having something that if everything else went bad, I was able to come back to that environment, I wouldn't be judged and I was able just to be myself. That was the biggest thing I lost. You sort of feel like you're shying away and you sort of feel that a bit here tonight too, but once I built that, I knew that from then on it was just about that rolling ball. So with work, I took a job with a friend of mine referred me. I was basically just selling door-to-door finance products to small business on behalf of Commonwealth Bank. At that point I had no car or money, and each day I was walking about 15 to 25 kilometres from train stations to the industrial areas to meet businesses. After a couple of months I got enough money to rent a car. It was a terrible car. I started to sell the most of the company, but I just wasn't getting ahead. By this stage I had a laptop and a car, so I decided to approach the bank directly and cut out the middleman. I asked some connections I had to put me in touch with the general manager of the CBA. That man agreed to grant me the contract for 3 months, and at the end of that period, if I could sell the same volume at the other company, he was able to supply a contract. The hardest thing for me is when people ask, how did you start your company? Well, most people don't know my story, so I just have to lie straight to their face. The reality is, the way I started the company was that at that low point, it was basically that if I went and met 15 to 20 business owners every day, I was able to come home and know that they knew nothing about me, and there was 20 new people that I could, put in my mind that didn't have a bad opinion of me. And that was the sole reason I started it. I sat down each Monday and made 300 to 400 calls out of the yellow pages. If you've got a small business, yes, I know I get you the shits, but still. At the end of the 3 months, I'd sold 1.5 times what the other company had, and I was then offered the contract. What I had created was an environment with a number of other banks where I was basically a broker. I was providing the cheapest products on the market and I was able to undercut every other bank. Later on, I was then, by the style that I was meeting 20 to 50 businesses a week, Telstra NBN came to me later that year and offered me a platinum partnership in Victoria that later expanded to Australia. 6 months later after that again, due to what I was doing, Momentum Energy came to me as well and did the same thing again. So basically what I created was an environment for a business owner to look at all the overheads of their business, that someone was actually working for them to save the most amount of money, and most business owners were saving about $3,000 to $8,000 per year, and it didn't cost them anything. So to date, I've delivered a total savings of around $700,000 annually across 220 clients in 18 months. I guess my message to you guys here today is you hear these stories, and as I said, they're really hard to relate to. But it's really about if you're having a tough time in your relationship, your marriage, whatever it may be, you're arguing about the same stuff, you find it hard to get the energy to play with your kids, or even create some family time, do the same thing I did. Just assess your pattern of behaviours. Really work out if there's just a common thread, the same argument you're having. You know, really have a look at that. You don't have to tell anyone. You just sit down and do it yourself. It's not hard. The one skill I did learn though over that time was basically on a bit of paper to draw out 3 boxes and just in them put work, family and social. In each of those boxes I just wrote down goals, how those made me feel and the values that I want to live. So under each of those boxes I then designed some behaviours. That simple skill that I had allowed me to each day, when I was at work, I had a particular set of values and behaviours I wanted to live. When I came home, I knew what values and behaviours I was doing. When I was socialising with friends, it was all about this. Thanks for that. I was on a roll too. And I guess why that skill's important is because if you do have a son, a daughter, a cousin, a friend, or whatever it may be that is struggling, the idea behind all of it is to try to capture those people before they do plummet to a low period. And if you're able to help them sit down and look at what they're doing each day and doing wrong, I mean, you may stop them before they even get to that low period. And there's 2 points I'll just leave you with. The statistics that came out the other day, for mental health last year. So last year, 2,800 people committed suicide across Australia. 2,200 of them were Australian males under the age of 45. So if you think about it this way, if a packed Boeing aircraft plane crashed and all 400 people on board died, the public would demand the fleet be grounded. But last year, 7 Boeing planes crashed with Australian males and no one said a thing. There's no attention, there's no outrage. And I guess why that's important is because the general feelings that everyone lives with, and that's lust, revenge, insecurity or jealousy, if you mix in something like depression, drugs, alcohol, gambling or anxiety, they're generally the catalyst for domestic abuse and domestic violence. That's why it's so important that both of these issues for women and men are spoken about together, because they're completely linked. There's no need to separate them. The final one I'll actually leave you with is one I found out the other day, actually. In Australia, we really love to point out the fact that Americans have terrible gun laws. And the case in point was Las Vegas only, I think it was 6 odd weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago. Well, here's a stat that'll probably blow you away. In 2005, the US government predicted the online phone gambling epidemic that Australia now faces. 26% of Australian males aged between 16 and 45 gamble above their means. At that time, the US government passed a law that unilaterally banned any form of phone gambling, credit card gambling, in all forms. The only gambling you can conduct in America is at a casino or on a racetrack. And why that's important is because the spike in the gun deaths has been, the first time this year, has been overtaken by the gambling-related suicide within Australian males. So it's fairly simple, guys. We've got a bigger epidemic than America has, so we may as well get off our high horse and see if we can do something about helping that guy. So that's all, guys.